30 years of The Undertaker, and we share our memories and more coming up today on WrstlXtra.
Yo, what is good, people? It is your boy ADazzle here alongside Mex as always. Here for WrstlXtra. You are listening on affinityextra.com, and right now you're watching us live and in color because we are colored people on YouTube, live right now on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Mex, tell me what's going on, bro.
Bruv, you know what? I've got a ballad to sing to you.
Oh, go on. Let's go.
They've done it again. They've done it again. Monday Night Raw. They've done it again. Just as we thought we were done with putting black people in Hurt Business segments, Titus O'Neil rears his head today. The next one of many, I guess.
Oh man, and we also even had Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth as well from last week, and then
they've done it again.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, I don't even know what to say, bro.
They're gonna keep doing it. Let's just get used to it.
Man, I don't know whether this is. I don't know whether it is actually MVP trying to get all of us kind of, you know, a bit.
It may be
on the box, or it is just WWE just not knowing what to do.
I mean, the question really is, why is it all in the same segment? But
this is the thing.
Beggars can't be choosers. I guess we have to take it.
I don't know. I don't know. You brought me off, bro. You know what? Let's go into what our biggest topic and our first topic is for this week. It is all about the Undertaker. As you can see, the shirt here,
the dead man.
The dead man. You know, we're seeing 30 years of the Undertaker since the Undertaker reared his head in, was it 19? Oh gosh. 30 years ago was 1990. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Oh God, it makes me feel old. I'm only 5 years, 5 years older than that. I was 5 years old when Undertaker came around.
I was 1 month.
Oh, bro, go away. Just leave. Just leave.
I'd been on this planet for 1 month.
Wow.
Mate.
Wow. So it's 30 years of the Undertaker. I think it was in October of 1990. We're seeing like 30 different documentaries on WWE Network. So we're going all in. Obviously, earlier this year, the Undertaker kind of loosely announced the retirement. It's still kind of sketchy as to whether it's the Undertaker, the character of the Undertaker, or the man Mark Callis, who is going to be, you know, moving away from wrestling altogether. It's yet to be seen, but we're also seeing like this whole retirement of the Undertaker on, I think it's November or December on the WWE Network, and I'm just like, what is
as in the show, or what they're gonna do at Survivor?
Yeah. There's gonna be some show or some Survivor. I can't even remember now, bro. I saw something on the WWE.com talking about it, and I was like, okay, cool. And they're doing this whole little, almost like a tournament of the greatest Undertaker matches.
Yeah, I saw that.
That looks interesting. Definitely. Obviously, we are here to share our memories of the dead man, who I myself consider to be probably, literally, when it comes to pro wrestling, possibly the greatest to ever do it, bro. You're looking at longevity, you're looking at what he can do in the ring, you're looking at the match, you know, you're looking at the influence that he's had on the whole thing and all the rest of it. Like, there's very few you can argue are better than the Undertaker. What are your thoughts?
I think for sure he is the greatest character ever made. His willingness and ability, always wanting to even not want to break kayfabe, and he has to remain the Undertaker in every situation, is very commendable, especially once, you know, the internet was introduced into wrestling and wrestling journalism, and the fans knowing more than what they should know, I guess. Yeah, he's just always wanted to keep being the Undertaker. He's strayed off in different paths every now and again to try and reinvent the character, add something to the character. I mean, if people, you know, some people might say that was good, some iterations were bad, they prefer some to others. Obviously, it's always open for conversation and debate. But yeah, I think there is nobody else. There will never be anybody else like the Undertaker. That is one of the characters that you could probably put up in front of your great uncle and auntie and grandmother, and you know, wrestling was in pop culture more them days, but everyone knows this is the Undertaker. Like it's one of them, man. Yeah, so
exactly, and that's what I say about the influence on both the sport, pop culture, all the rest of it as well. Everyone knows who the Undertaker is, and there are very few wrestlers that you can mention that people know who they are. So Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold are probably the four that you can mention and will almost always get a that type of reaction. If for those that even don't watch wrestling either anymore, or probably even never did, and probably would still know who they are.
They still know who they are.
So let's open up the conversation and the debate of these different iterations, or you know, of the Undertaker. For yourself, which one do you think was the best one? Which one didn't quite work?
For me personally, unpopular opinion, American Badass was my favorite.
Wow.
There was just something about him. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I think just generally, I've never taken to the character wrestlers.
Okay.
I've just always liked the man sort of thing. So I think that's what it is with the Undertaker. I mean, if there's two characters I can name straight off the top of my head that I've really taken to, it is the Undertaker and, lo and behold, the Fiend. So yeah, I'm really not a character kind of guy when it comes to wrestling. But the American Badass just coming out on the big motorcycle, Limp Bizkit playing in the back, keep rolling. It was just something else, man. And I think growing up, one of my favorite moves was the Last Ride, because we'd all see the power bomb. I loved Kevin Nash and the jackknife power bomb, which was just like a lazy, I'm gonna half pick you up and drop you. But the Undertaker, when he used to hit the Last Ride and lift them above his head, like I said, this guy is a different breed. And obviously he started using that much more as his finisher when he tried to normalize himself almost. So yeah, that followed by obviously when he died in that iteration and then came back as the Undertaker until maybe not current day, but up to the last few years. That's my favorite. I didn't like Ministry Undertaker. Yeah, but that's not a dislike. Again, I think it's because I was young. He scared the crap out of me. And that's just honestly speaking.
That was the whole point.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why I need to probably revisit that as an adult. But yeah, that's my favorites and my not so favorite. What about yourself?
The trauma is real. My favorite has to be the more hybrid Undertaker. So you know, the more recent, not necessarily the last few years, but definitely probably pre Brock Lesnar loss.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Yeah, same.
It was brilliant. I really liked that. He kind of had this at one point had that little kind of like a cowboy Grim Reaper type thing going on.
Yes, yeah.
I like that. I did like that. But yeah, definitely when he kind of, I think the thing for me was when he came back after the Badass thing in WrestleMania 20. when he came back as the Dead Man, I lost.
That was different.
That did me. I was there. I was there for that completely. For me, the one that didn't quite work was the Badass.
In terms of his character as the Undertaker, it didn't really work, to be honest.
Like for me, it wasn't so much the character of the Badass. It was just the simple fact that it came. He was the Undertaker to me.
Yeah.
To see him as more of a man, it was kind of like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know what to do, how to take it, and all that kind of thing. Funnily enough, actually, around that time, I wasn't watching wrestling as much as well, for whatever reason. I can't even remember. But so I didn't necessarily see everything about the Badass and all that kind of stuff. I did see, you know, obviously the whole bike and whatever else. And the last ride, bro, I always thought that was funny. It was great when I first saw it, but I always thought it was funny as well, because it's like you're giving a man a wedgie before you powerbomb him as well.
yeah, literally, because you grab them by their tights.
Exactly. Lift them up, you know what I mean, and then hit that with the powerbomb. But strong move, bro. Strong move.
I will never forget, particularly one last ride that he gave to Nunzio, I think it was, one of those Italian guys.
Yeah.
And he lifted, obviously Nunzio's a cruiserweight anyway. He literally lifted him up, wedgie. You know, he's basically wearing a thong at this point. Nunzio turns to the crowd, side of the cross. It was absolutely brilliant. Last ride was one of my favorite finisher moves even till today.
Yeah, man. But you know what? The one thing I did love about the Badass was that bike. That motorbike was
that was proper.
Serious, bro. Serious. I've always wanted like the Harley type of bike as well. Yeah, man. Almost like I've got a few friends. I've got one of my best friends. He's actually got like he's got a bike, but it's not like the Harley type. You're talking like speed bike types. But I've never been into those bikes. I've always been into that Harley type where you're sitting down, low rider, you know,
back
with the arms up in the air, and you know what I mean, like that was my thing, bro. So when I saw him with that, I was like, okay, all right, I can get with this. But the Dead Man Undertaker, Ministry Undertaker, you mentioned Ministry Undertaker. Yeah, man, that was scary, bro. When they put up Stephanie on that,
tried to crucify her.
That was different, and then you had Viscera and Midian and the Acolytes next to him, and yeah, man, the way that changed a lot and all the rest of it as well. So yeah, man, that Undertaker was serious, but original Undertaker with the grey, you know, looking. Oh, we even had the Phantom of the Opera type Undertaker with the little mask.
I didn't like that one, but that was because he had an injury, right?
Right. And that was, I think it was to do with Viscera Mabel at the time. He must have given him a splash and landed on him awkwardly, and I think I broke or damaged his cheek or something like that.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think it was the mask that I didn't like.
Yeah,
that's why.
I wasn't a fan of that either. It was a little bit. It was both scary and cheesy all at the same time.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that. But I also remember the two Undertakers. That messed up so many people. That messed up so many people.
Yeah. I remember that. Which
one's the real one? You had the one in the purple, the one in the grey. Which one was the real one, and all that kind of thing? Like that was sick, bro. That was bad. That was bad. But yeah, to think that this one character has had such an impression, and especially the character of a supernatural type guy as well. So, you know, we've seen, you know, we fell in love with Stone Cold, who was kind of like the guy that we, you know, probably related to at that time, or was very much like, you know, any other white guy that we knew or something like that. Then you had the clean and correct Hulk Hogan, who was, you know, kids stay in school and drinking milk and all that type of thing. Real American hero, all that kind of stuff. Then you had The Rock, who was the other person that we all know, who was this fly guy, you know what I mean? The Versace shirts and, you know what I mean? Hollywood guy. But then to think that the fourth person that is most common to most people is the man who was supposed to be a zombie, basically.
A dead man.
A dead guy who comes from hell. Death Valley, let's be, you know what I mean? As direct as that. Has stood the test of time.
Literally.
For me, that part of it is what's amazing. He stood the test of time, and as much as we've mentioned all these different incarnations, apart from the badass, they weren't really that different.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an overhaul of a character. It literally was just one little thing changed here, costume change a little bit, or you know what I mean, hair done a little bit different and whatnot. So you know, it definitely shows how great he was at doing that. But then, you know, we even got to look at what this tall 6'7" man can do in the ring.
Yeah,
Flying over,
ability.
you know, flying over the top rope, tightrope walking on the top rope. His strikes, you know, some of the hardest ever in wrestling.
The quickest
Like,
as well.
yeah. It's crazy, and even now at his age, he's still able. Some may say not as good, and you know he probably needs to hang up the boots now, and I probably should have done it, you know, after he lost to Brock. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
You know, to still do that, even at that age when he faced Brock, he was, you know, quite an old man.
Yeah,
let's be real. Still old enough to be my dad.
Generally, he's kept himself in good nick. Like apart from the last couple of years where obviously age sets in and you know you just get those inherent injuries and stuff. He's kept himself very good. Like you said, his ability in the ring is next to none. For me personally, the one blemish on his record is I don't feel he ever won enough championships. Some may argue that, you know, obviously he's a supernatural character. He didn't need to. Same way people are saying now that The Fiend doesn't ever need to win the Universal Championship and stuff. He just needs to terrorize people effectively.
Right.
Which I do agree with. But yeah, I just feel like when, you know, as someone as legendary as The Rock, as the Undertaker, when you're talking about The Rock, Austin, Triple H, Hulk Hogan's, and you're counting all these guys that have 14 championship reigns and stuff.
Right.
You know, it became a thing where the streak was his championship. Like, that was his thing.
Exactly.
And yeah, I just feel it's a bit they messed up the streak. I think that could have been something he retired with, or something that retired him.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that then they messed up the streak is like the one thing that was his championship was then not held in, you know, kept in good regard.
And that's the thing as well. I completely agree. It's like it was after him not being as great in the ring in terms of his movement and stuff like that. You know, him not having so many championships, him also only appearing at WrestleMania for quite a while as well. It was the only thing that kept the real character or the supernatural character of the Undertaker alive. For him to lose was fine. I didn't so much mind. It was the greatest and most amazing shocker.
It was brilliant.
History. But I think that should have been his time to walk away. He should have just gone then. He came back again, I think it was a year, if not 2 years later. Won, then lost for the following year to Roman Reigns. And then you're like, okay, what are we doing here? So this 21-0 or whatever it was at the time now becomes 23-2. And you're like, okay, let's not mention it because it doesn't sound good at all. You know what I mean?
Where's the marketing? Where's the PR? Who's behind this?
Exactly. 23-2. Huh? Yeah, like just leave it alone. But he still shows himself at WrestleMania to do his thing. There was that squash match with John Cena, which
a
bit weird. That was a bit weird. And unfortunately, you know, it wasn't WrestleMania, but unfortunately we had that whole Goldberg match.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's not go. let's leave that in Saudi Arabia.
Goldberg tried to kill my man. I just looking at NK has a comment here. Big up NK. Thanks for joining us today. He says the streak was bigger than any championships, in my opinion. That's how they treated it.
Real talk.
I
Real
wouldn't
talk.
have believed that before, but coming to
Mhm.
especially the later stages as it approached the 20 mark as well,
Right.
I
Right.
thought, fine, if he ain't gonna win all these championships like all these other men, then yeah, give him this streak, you know, have it in high regard. And Lesnar's star power skyrocketed when he beat
For sure.
Undertaker. Obviously, he came back as the MMA guy anyway, and he was a big star, but it definitely the beast incarnate, you know, killed off the streak. It skyrocketed, and it would have further, you know, cemented Lesnar. Not to say he's not, but if that was the Undertaker done, completely done,
for sure.
And even, I mean, I might even go one step further. He had the Roman match, which you mentioned, which he lost to as well. He left, you know, all the iconic gear in the ring. If that was Roman retiring Undertaker, Roman comes out the next night like he did, this is my yard now. And you let Roman go on a monster heel run, you cement another star right at the retirement of another one. Like, yeah.
And that's what we're very much used to. The whole thing of, you know, we've seen it with Undertaker did it to, was it Shawn Michaels? Or Shawn Michaels did it to Ric Flair at WrestleMania. You know, we've seen that happen. So for it to happen twice, to where we thought Undertaker was gone, it definitely killed, like almost 100% killed the character of the Undertaker. And I think to a point, it's probably why we've then seen, you know, the more human guy. We've seen Mark more than we've seen the Undertaker. And I don't know whether that was on purpose at first, if it was a plan, or it was just something that they decided to do because they realized there was nothing else they could do. I would like to. I think more than likely it's the latter, where they, you know, didn't know what else to do, and that's a shame. And that's a shame because the booking just messed it up, I guess. You know, and yeah, we're in 2020. We're now in the age of the internet where nothing's secret anymore, and we know everything about everything and stuff like that, and whatnot. But at the same time, we still kind of had this imagination of this you know, supernatural character. Yeah. But
I wouldn't have minded a scenario where I'm saying the Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, because he's like the next supernatural character kind of right now. If he kind of peeled back the layers and turned Undertaker into the man, Mark Calloway, you know, and one by one, he just kind of lost his identity. And by the end of it, as he was retiring, it's like, yeah, I am just Mark Calloway sort of thing. That could have been one way to go. I've got a question for you.
Go on.
Survivor Series, they're saying, you know, final farewell, this, that, and the other. Do you think he's going to have one more match after this?
Yes. That's I'm not even having to think about this, you know, bro. Like,
so like me, you don't believe this is it?
Nah. I think there's going to be at least one more match. How they do it, why they do it, I have no clue whatsoever. But they're gonna do it. There's no way they're building up this whole retirement farewell, see you later with, like I said, 30 different documentaries every week and all of this, to then him to just say bye.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that his last match was against AJ Styles. I love the Boneyard match. I think it garnered in this whole generation of cinematic matches, and I know it might not be your favorite thing, but I think that was one of the better cinematic matches we've seen this year over this period. But and no disrespect to AJ Styles, obviously he is a phenomenal wrestler, no pun intended. But I just find it hard to believe AJ Styles. There's no sentiment there, you know. There isn't. There should be the final match should be against somebody else, and I'm sure there's a list of guys it should be against, and it's not AJ Styles.
Listen, there's no list. There's one guy it should be.
Go on.
And it won't ever happen, but we've been asking for it for at least 5 years. The one guy it should be.
Woo!
Exactly. Thing. That is it, bro. Give me the Crow. Give me him coming down from the rafters or somewhere in some way. Even give me, you know what? Even give me the deranged Joker type Sting. Just give me Sting with the white face, the painted face, all the rest of it. Just give me Sting and Undertaker, and I am happy. I don't care who wins. I don't care how it ends. I just need to see them two go at it. It's some, as with the cinematic thing, let's use it to our advantage. Let's turn it into this whole crazy madness.
A mini movie.
And let's go for it. I know it's not going to happen. I'll be very surprised if it does happen now. But for me, that was and is the only match I need to see the Undertaker have. I don't care about anyone else at all. Yeah, that is it. That is it.
Fair enough. Well, just to round up on the Undertaker, I'll take these last few comments. NK, once the streak ended, Taker should have retired. Yeah, I think we all are in agreement with that. Eli Myers, thanks for joining us, bro. I don't think anyone thinks Survivor Series will be the end of Taker. For who he should face, my pick should be The Fiend, just to pass the torch. That's something that people have mentioned as well.
Probably the only one, actually, yeah.
NK, Sting versus Undertaker not happening is a massive injustice.
For real. It is the
crime against wrestling.
Pro wrestling history. It is in pro wrestling history. What Eli said, though, about The Fiend, for me, that is probably the only match that he could have now and make sense. For him both to retire, for him to pass on the whole, evil character, thing onto and all that kind of thing. I think it would be very interesting. Bray Wyatt is very good with that whole, mind games thing as well. Yeah. I think it would be very, very interesting actually for them to do that as a final thing. Final question on the Undertaker. Favorite match?
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, it has to be. All right. Which one?
The first one. What WrestleMania was that?
Okay, I can't even remember what WrestleMania that was.
I think it's the first one, but closely followed by the Hell in a Cell, where Shawn Michaels was referee against Triple H.
That was a strong
era match. I watched it the other day. Absolutely brilliant.
Strong match. And I think that was strong because we kind of already had almost given up on the Undertaker's abilities and what he could do. Yeah. And he showed himself and he was like, you know what, I can still go. The other one I want to mention, massively iconic match was the Hell in a Cell with Mankind.
Yes.
And when he threw Mankind after, even to this day, no other
dashed man off the top.
Listen, even to this day, no other spot in a Hell in a Cell match is gonna be bigger than that. No, not gonna happen.
When you see them fall and stuff now, it's very calculated. Make sure I hit the commentary table at this spot and everything. Right. This was just dash away this man and let him fall off the top of the cell. Like
we had no idea. We've never seen that before, so we didn't know what to expect. And then he's gone through the roof as well.
Through the roof and all, yeah.
Oh, crazy. But yeah, man, we've got to move on. We're taking up too much time with the Undertaker. We spent 30 minutes on 30 years of the Undertaker. Hey, that's only right. Right. Come on. So let's move back to even more present things. What was the other thing that we were going to talk about today? Because I've actually forgot.
So we said
you know what? I remember now. We get to talk about NXT UK again for a second week in a row. Come on.
Good.
That is very, very good. And we're talking Black British as well. So we saw the debut of Aaliyah James on NXT. And we also saw Rampage visit the Performance Center, the NXT UK Performance Center as well. We're now seeing, I think that is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least six people on the roster for NXT UK at the moment. Now, the talk is it's not confirmed, but the talk is that both Aaliyah James and Rampage are signed to NXT UK. One of the giveaways is that WWE actually filed for trademarks for both their names as well as a few other people in the company. So, as I said, it's not been officially announced, but come on, that's a telling sign, of course. The trademark.
Done,
Yeah, of course. Do you think it will change anything? Do you think it will give more hope to any black wrestlers in the UK? Obviously, things are not really happening at the moment for us or for anyone in the UK right now when it comes to pro wrestling. Do you think it will spark anything in any black British wrestlers moving forward?
I think it definitely will give the confidence that, you know, where before I'm sure the route before was I need to kind of get trained here to a certain degree and then, you know, make the jump to America
Right.
to be noticed. But obviously not just NXT UK, but we've got other, Rev Pro, Progress, Riptide, all these other kind of promotions are coming up, doing their thing. Like you said, unfortunately, they're probably not getting much in the way of business right now, given the pandemic. But there's a route to America, to the big league, so to speak, without having to make that jump from, you know, kind of amateur level, just trained, to trying to find your way in America. There's ways within the country to get to WWE within the country. And then obviously you shine on NXT UK, possibly if you want that move to NXT Prime in Florida, then you go there, and then, you know, the world's your oyster from there, really. But it's definitely encouraging. I remember when NXT UK started, Ashton Smith. I can't remember anybody else if there was one. There you go. Then I was literally clinging on to Ashton Smith, like, you know, every time I see him, I'm out there doing woo as well, because I need the guy to succeed. But yeah, man, it's literally, it's good to see. It's good to see the strength of our roster in that sense is growing.
Yeah, it is for sure. And going back to when NXT started, it literally was just Ashton Smith, and I remember that very, very clearly because I made a proper song and dance about it on my page. Massive. I think I posted like about 3 different posts straight after each other, just talking about how, you know, there's only Ashton Smith. I think there were 31 people on the roster. He was the only one. In the big picture that they took of everyone involved, he was right in the middle.
Good.
Right in the middle. And I even posted, like, I think it was 1, if not 2 posts of other black British wrestlers who could or were even at the time good enough to be on the show and to be part of the roster as well. So it is amazing to see. It's crazy how of all of those men that I did post, I think there were a few women that I posted as well. Rampage was one of them.
Yeah,
Rampage is one of them. To see him now there is absolutely amazing. Of course, we know he's been wrestling for a very long time, at least 20 years. He was once, as we said last week, he was once in Florida Championship Wrestling a long time ago. But what amazes me even more so than all of this is Aaliyah James not even wrestling for 2 years, bro. Not even been a pro for 2 years, and already she is on the biggest stage she can be within the UK
country.
And I find that amazing. But, you know, seeing her talent, knowing the potential that she has, it doesn't surprise me in that respect. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Bro, talent is talent, innit? Like, it's up to you if you want to sign this person up now, or especially now where there's more sharks in the water, you're going to give them the opportunity to go elsewhere. I watched NXT UK last week. I saw Aaliyah James take on Ginny, and I guess traditionally you're just expecting some type of squash. It was a relatively competitive match. Aaliyah James got to show a lot of her ability. Very flexible, very athletic. And Ginny is obviously one of the most experienced women on that roster.
For sure.
Definitely put together a very good match. And I don't think anyone came away probably thinking, oh, well, yeah, that's just someone that, you know, they just brought in to fill the roster thing. Because they wouldn't have given her the amount of time she had against Ginny if that was the case. So, it was very optimistic to see. Like you said, the week before that, we had Levi Muir. This week, we're getting Rampage Brown. It's all coming together. So
it's nice. It's nice. As you said, it's very encouraging, not just for the wrestlers themselves, but, you know, as fans, as us, as black British fans as well. It's exciting to see that there are more people like us that are going to be on this show. And
Mm.
hopefully as well, we'll see more of Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter as well in the tag team division. They were on a bit of a rise just before NXT UK kind of had to stop. And obviously they were kind of part of that whole little, reintroduction, I guess, to the tag team division when it came back a few weeks back. So yeah, man, it's very encouraging. And as you said though, with Aaliyah James, it's like they gave her that time because they know she was good enough. There was no squash. There was no, who is this girl? It wasn't an enhancement match for Ginny. We all know who Ginny is and all the rest of it as well. So that wasn't needed at all. It kind of moves us nicely to our next point though, because we also see now opportunities happening in the States now for quite a lot of stars on AEW Dark. But at the same time, it's kind of like we know what's going to happen to them. For some of them, it's just been, on there for like 2 minutes, literally.
Yeah.
So I see how long, and you're seeing so many matches, but an average match you're looking at like 5 minutes. So the longer main events with stars that are already contracted to AEW, like about maybe 10 to 20 minutes maximum. Whereas these matches with the indie folk who are getting their little opportunity, you're looking at about 2 to 5 minutes. Now the question is it an opportunity or are they being played?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? It's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
However, beggars can't be choosers, but the opportunity isn't as great as it seems. I think Dark is too long. On some weeks, Dark is longer than Dynamite, and that's just unacceptable. I think Dark needs to focus on, the guys it really wants to bring through against maybe the guys that aren't getting used so much against Dynamite. Dynamite, sorry. So we know that's the kind of dynamic it's going to be. A lot of the times you can look at the Dark card and just know who's going to win anyway.
Right.
However, like you said, the 2 to 5 minute match doesn't really benefit anybody. Doesn't benefit the guy that developed and should be getting more time on Dynamite. Doesn't help kind of further the progress of the more greener wrestlers. It's not doing much. We've seen, like I say, Will Hobbs has somewhat graduated from Dark. He's now someone that wins when he is on Dark and has little segments here and there on Dynamite. Red Velvet seems to be kind of next out of the class, graduating. She's getting more of a prominent role. Lee Johnson, I don't know what they're doing to my man. He's shown, he's got more than in terms of ability. They flirted with him, putting him in positions here and there. So I'm sure his change is coming. His storm will soon be over. The captain, Sean Dean. We've got guys there. I'm seeing Devon Dudley's twin boys are about to debut. Will they get a fair crack of the whip? Do you know who they're taking on?
They're taking on Serpentico and Luther.
So they're losing.
So
you see what I mean? It's like, but if they're given maybe a 10-minute stretch to show what they can do and then lose. I mean, by no means, I don't think Serpentico and Luther should be getting a long time to kind of show how great they are because they're not really used on Dynamite. If we're going to give these opportunities, let's just make them worth the while of the newer talent that need the opportunity to just brushing up their skills, get used to TV, because that's what the point is. And
of course.
Yeah, there's no point these 2-minute squash matches and stuff. There's really no point.
Dark in itself has caused so much confusion. It's unreal in so many different ways as well. Because, okay, for one, you're getting, these people who are getting these opportunities, and you will always have to see as an opportunity, regardless. I mean, it's always an opportunity. I don't think we can necessarily argue that. It's an opportunity for you to shine. You're on national TV, you're on YouTube, whatever it is. It's a bigger stage than you've probably ever been on, or for some never haven't been on in a very long time, maybe. So it's an opportunity either way. The problem comes really is, as short as some of the matches are, with guys like Lee Johnson and Sean Dean, who have lost so many times, but yet every single time they come out, they say, his record does not,
define him.
Does not define how good he actually is. I don't want to. I'm hearing that every week now for the last 3 months now.
Nothing.
It doesn't mean anything. And then the other little bit of confusion comes when you're getting guys like Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, who debuted 2 weeks ago, and after their first week announced as signed talent.
Yeah.
Now that happens. We're not here to do the whole, well, if you've been there for 5 weeks or for 2 months, then you should be signed quicker than you. But at the same time, it's still kind of like, okay, so why them and not that guy?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what are you looking for? What are you actually trying to find? And I'm sure they can answer that question. It's up to them what they do in that respect. But it's still kind of like, okay, Lee Johnson's been doing his thing for how long? We can see that he's good. We know that he's good. We know that you think he's good as well. But yet there's no announcement of him being signed. But you want to put him with the Nightmare family, but then he loses his next 2 matches.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Then the other big level of confusion that happens now is, and they made it a thing on Dynamite, the last Dynamite, and then followed it up on Full Gear, is Team Taz. So Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. On the last episode of Dynamite, Taz has come out and said Brian Cage is the #1 contender. He's the top of the list of everyone in AEW in terms of his win-loss record.
Yeah.
But yet he's being overlooked, and they're doing a tournament for the #1 contender. Okay, where's the ranking? What's the point in the rankings? Then you've got Ricky Starks, who's on Dark almost every single week, still unbeaten on Dark. I think he's only lost to Darby Allin on Dynamite.
Yeah,
but apparently he's not ranked at all. What is this? What's going on? Then you've got the length of time that Dynamite, that Dark is, as you said, is just way too long. Then they had a special edition on Friday, which was, what was the point? It didn't further anything, and that for me is the problem, is that there is no furtherance. Very little. It does happen. I must say it does happen, but very little does it make sense for most of these people to be wrestling. And we've mentioned it before with Scorpio Sky. We thought that, yes, okay, it's now going to have some kind of full-length storyline, but then both that ended very quickly, never revisited again. So I'm just like, is it?
You know what? It's good you mentioned that. It's good you mentioned that, because on the AEW Full Gear media scrum after Full Gear on Saturday, Tony Khan actually came out and kind of held his hands up and said, look, we kind of tell stories on Dark that aren't translating to Dynamite. If you don't watch Dark, then you might not get some things that happen on Dynamite, and it's a misstep on his behalf. And he said this because it's like, for him, I'm watching Dark and I'm watching Dynamite, so I get it, but people aren't getting some of the things. Right. So cool, he held his hands up. The thing now is, when does the change come? You've acknowledged that this is an issue. You've acknowledged there's no kind of through line. We've said this in the past. Even BTE, as brilliant as it is, they're telling stories on there which are playing out on TV and on Dark. But if you're not watching BTE, you're never gonna know what's going on in the background. So they have to find that through line. They have to find how to use these guys. They have to be honest with, like you're saying, you can't have these guys week in, week out just losing matches. Do you plan to sign them? Do you plan to do anything with them? A part of me still thinks maybe they're just accumulating talent. There's rumors of this new show that they're going to have starting in the new year. So it might be for that. I guess we just have to kind of wait and see. But Dark definitely needs some direction, I think.
And that's the thing, there's a big part of it where we don't know what's going on, and we kind of still do have to wait. That is just what we have to do. We're not in the meeting rooms. We're not, we're not part of the planning team. We don't know what they're actually doing. It might make some level of sense in in the next few weeks, months, or whatever it is. I'm sure they have some sort of plan. Going back to the whole stories and things linking, I don't mind too much that if you don't, you have to watch BTE, you have to watch Dark, and you have to watch Dynamite in order for some stories to make complete sense. For me, that's what almost should be happening sometimes, because it then means you have to watch all the products. That's a way for them to get more viewers, and that's fine.
But then they have to direct people to it.
That is very true. That is very true, actually. That is very true. But then what happens is sometimes as well that certain stories are on one thing and then doesn't translate, even though that same wrestler, you'll see them on all three.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet their story from BTE, for example, doesn't carry on then to anything else that they're doing. So that's where one of the problems comes as well. But for me with Dark, it's kind of like, okay, if you're going to use all these different people, if you're going to use certain talent, just make it make a little bit more sense. I wouldn't mind if there are certain stories that are only on Dark. That would be fine. It would be fine. It's just this whole thing of so many matches. You'll have, say you have 10 matches, probably only one of them links to then another storyline somewhere else. Yeah. And that for me is where the real problem comes in terms of any linkings to stories and the whole thing making sense. But we are where we are, and there's nothing we can do but what.
Yeah, that's it. NK left a comment here. The reason why the tournament happened is because Moxley has beaten everyone in the rankings. So yeah, I remember they did say this, but then again, for instance, if we look at the Ricky Starks example, he hasn't faced Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks doesn't appear on the rankings. So it's just it's little things. I guess it's nitpicking, but you introduce something like a ranking system, you want to think they kind of use it and stick to it, sort of thing.
Right.
Eli just says here, what are your thoughts on what will be announced later about AEW games? Will we finally get a set date for release? So I'm quite looking forward to this. I am a gamer, and they said they're releasing more than one game. I don't care really what they release. I know that with these guys, it's going to be very good because there's a lot of gamers within their camp.
Very, very true.
I just want the game to have a GM mode. And they've been listening to screams of fans asking WWE to do this for years. So I can bet my house that these guys haven't missed that. And there's a GM mode within one of these two games that they're releasing.
For me, I can see when they say it's more than one game, it's going to be a game for, like PS5 and consoles, and then more than likely games for mobile devices and stuff like that. Maybe, for sure. I think they're going to do something like that, and that would make sense. If they do a thing where you can play one game on the console and then also play a version of the same game on your mobile, bro, you've got me.
Go clear.
But the thing for me is definitely the GM. The GM part of it is definitely a massive thing for me. I mean, you've got Xavier Woods and I forget his name now. The gorgeous one. Who
just won?
His name, the gorgeous one. From
what's his face? I've forgotten his name, Mike Dalton, but I can't remember his actual.
Yeah. Of course. But you've got them two. You've got them two still playing on.
Tyler Breeze.
Come on. Yeah. We call ourselves wrestling journalists. But you've got Xavier Woods and Tyler Breeze still playing Raw versus SmackDown. I think from 2007 or something like that, or one of the very old versions, because they can still do the GM thing on that game, and they're doing that every week, and that's getting views on YouTube like no one's business. Yeah. And for me as well, like there's one game I play on my phone. It's called Modern Wrestling something else. I can't remember. There's something more to it. Modern Wrestling. Basically, you're a GM. Yeah. Basically, you're a GM. There's all these characters who are kind of heavily based on current wrestlers at the moment. So you've got an Undertaker type guy, you've got a Keith Lee type guy that they just released a few months ago. Like that game's serious. I need to talk to these people to get sponsored because the game's real talk.
That's hard. I haven't even heard of it.
No, trust me, I'll send you the link or something. But then they've got an 80s incarnation of the same type of thing as well. So you've got the characters are based on older characters. But that game has me, bro, sitting there for weeks, days. Like the start of lockdown, it was literally the only thing I used to do. Sit down and play that game for years and years and years. So the GM thing for me is probably the most important thing for any wrestling game to have.
100%.
They don't have that.
Yeah, that's a misstep, and I don't.
Be a massive.
Yeah, it's a misstep, and I don't think these guys, with their attention to detail, I don't think they're gonna not have it. So I look forward to the release information later on today. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting. Now we have only 10 minutes to go. Usually this means we are on to our stars of the week. I think I struggled this week. I can't even think of who I chose. I'm going to think of it right now. No, I think I have an idea. But if you go first, let me know who your star or stars of the week is.
So I've got a question to ask and maybe something to say following this.
Okay, let's go.
Honorable mention to Sasha Banks. She retained her SmackDown Women's Championship, which was good to see. Nyla Rose, what's her background
in terms of heritage?
Yes, do you know?
So Nyla Rose is of African American and also Native American heritage.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Because I'll retract my statement. Then I was looking at the full gear card, thinking, where are the black people?
Right.
I mean, that's another argument that to say none of our stars, and probably Nyla Rose is our biggest star in that aspect. Then currently, because the other ones haven't kind of found their feet just yet. We saw a bit of Will Hobbs on the night, but weren't kind of represented in that way on that show.
Very.
My star of the week is gonna be Ricochet.
Nice.
I think this past yesterday on Raw. It was not a great episode. He put on a very good match of the night against Mustafa Ali. We know these guys can go. Like there's no question here about it. And yeah, I just think it was good to see him in a match where it wasn't a squash like Tucker the last week, or it wasn't him getting beaten up so badly, even though his selling job is brilliant. Like no one sells like Ricochet. There just has to be another gear for Ricochet. Like, and this is me more just like backing him to find that next gear. Like, he's too good to just be passively on Raw, and they're just finding things for him to do with people he can have good matches with. When does Ricochet's story come? Like, for him to tell a real story, he hasn't been that guy in WWE yet. When he first came to main roster, he had the US title run, a little back and forth with AJ Styles, which was pretty good. Since then, he's been very, very passive. So yeah,
and I think we have to be very honest and say that is probably why, as you know, it's been, I guess, well documented, really, that he's not necessarily, on the top of the list for, Vince McMahon. Yeah. There's just something that he's missing. Ability, no question, all day long. You can wrestle for the whole 3 hours and you won't get bored. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That thing exactly you're speaking into?
Exactly that. It. Exactly that. And that's what he's missing. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And that seems to also be the biggest issue, I guess, for those in the WWE, the big heads and those in charge when it comes to big stars from the indies moving to WWE. A lot of the time, they are great when it comes to ability, but their character work and anything that goes with that, in terms of how good they are on the mic, in terms of how good they are at telling a story, in terms of maybe acting skills and all that kind of thing, just isn't as great as their abilities. On the indies, it's all about abilities, and let's not, they don't need to change that. It's not a let's change that just so we can then move on to, what I mean, onto the WWE and become big stars. There is a transition. There is a transition that has to happen, and that goes without saying. Some make it quickly. Some it takes a while. Some don't make it at all. It's that real. But I guess unfortunately for us, it's taken longer we want it to when it comes to Ricochet. The only other time that we ever saw Ricochet really having to be a character or tell a story in that respect was back on Lucha Underground when he was Prince Puma. But when you think about it, there was very little he actually did. It was still a lot about his ability, and he had mouthpieces who spoke for him, or there was very little he said because he had the mask on and all that kind of thing as well. Even with that, there was very little. So even with Lucha Underground being all about the story and the cinematic level of it all and all that kind of thing, there was still very little real acting that he had to do. So yeah, unfortunately, that's Ricochet's Achilles heel, I guess, right now. But it is a shame because I've been a massive fan of Ricochet for a very long time, and I just need to see. I just need to see him progress. It's great to see him having a match with Mustafa Ali because then we get to be, reminded of how good he is in the ring as well. And the little feud with AJ Styles was good, but again, it was more so about what they did in the ring and not necessarily their character, their interaction, their character work and stuff like that as well. So, and as great as AJ Styles is, it just wasn't enough to necessarily really improve or bring up Ricochet's skills. And it's a damn shame we've said so many negative things about Ricochet when we talk about our star of the week.
Literally. I mean, like I said, he's star of the week because of the performance. And it was just me watching the screen and just thinking, man, like this guy is never going to get his just desserts in wrestling if he's just the guy with ability. It has to be more than that. In today's landscape, it has to be more than that. But he's still a star for that performance on Monday Night Raw.
For sure. For me, my stars of the week, and I say stars because it's more than one, but they come as a collective right now, is Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Their win against not the Street Profits, the New Day, last week on Raw was great. There was no cheating involved. There was no distraction. It was literally they beat them. Obviously they had their match yesterday as well, but at the same time, let's wait because I need to see the New Day versus the Street Profits first. You know what I mean?
We're getting that though.
I think we'll still get that. I think we'll still get that.
Next week it's Hurt Business versus New Day for the titles.
I know, but I still think we'll still get that. I think it may be a thing where something's going to happen where the match probably doesn't end correctly or something like that. But whatever happens, the New Day Hurt Business thing will carry on after Survivor Series. And I think we'll maybe see a change then. If we don't, if we don't, we don't. But if we do see a title change, it will be after. I think it would be a complete injustice, and I'll be very upset. As much as I would have no issue with the Hurt Business, winning the championship and having more gold within the faction, it would just be an absolute crime, bro, to not have the New Day versus the Street Profits. It would be an absolute crime. And as great as Shelton and Cedric are, and even that match with them versus Street Profits will be great as well. It doesn't have the same, testicular fortitude, you know what I mean, as the New Day versus the Street Profits. So I need to see that match first, and you can do whatever you want with the Hurt Business and the New Day after that. I'm not fussed at all.
No, I hear that.
Yeah. So we are coming to the end of our show. We have talked about the greatness of the Undertaker. We've talked about the new things happening on NXT UK. Big up Black British. And also obviously all the stuff on Dark that is confusing our lives. But hopefully we'll see something better. And our stars of the week this week were Ricochet and the Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Folks, we are at the end of our show. You are listening on affinityextra.com. You are watching live. If you are watching live, thank you for those who are watching live. And you can also watch again also on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Folks, stay tuned. Keep close to us, WrestleManiac.uk now on Instagram, and also WrestleManiac UK on Twitter. Folks, you are following me on Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram. Stay very, very closely tuned because I've got something for you before the end of this week.
Yes,
I'm excited.
it's here.
But enough of that. You'll see it soon. Folks, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you again next week.
Take care, guys.